All praise, all glory, all honors most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel of the Household of Faith, and I count it truly a blessing each and every time that I can come before you to preach the word of God, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. Just a little bit about the Household of Faith. We meet every Sabbath at Indiana University Northwest Library Conference Center Room LC 105, 3400 Broadway, Gary, Indiana. That will be changing very soon. We've acquired a location, so I'll keep you posted on that. We live stream our Sabbath day services right here on the IsraelTeach YouTube channel, as well as on our IsraelTeach.org site. Again, that's 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We also have a radio broadcast that airs every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on WLTH 1370 AM, the Region's Choice. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's lesson. And the title is "Be a Man at All Costs." This is a call to action of men to be men, okay? Because here in this diaspora, here in America, America has ruined our men, and they have become less than men, okay? And because they are not men, quite frankly, women don't know what they should do. They don't understand their role, because men are not men, and therefore they have been forced to be like men. So we're gonna look at the Bible and see the order of things, and we're gonna see manhood from a biblical perspective. Because quite frankly, what I'm seeing a bunch of males. I'm not seeing men. And understand, manhood is something that is imposed upon you. You don't just grow up as a male and all of a sudden become into a man. That's not how it works. Manhood is imposed upon men. It is different for women. Manhood, though, is imposed upon men. You have different cultures who they have processes by which their boys become men, rites, right? Rites of passage. And you have that for women as well, but it's not in the same sense as far as it being imposed. Okay. So one thing the Bible can do for you, amongst many things, is make you into a man. And what we need to do, quite frankly, as a people, is shed our Eurocentric Western perspective of what it means to be married, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man. Because we have adopted the stances and viewpoints of people who don't know God. And it's not for us, and it is to our detriment. That's why when you look at our men our males as a whole, what do you see? You see men who are emotional, who don't know how to be men. You see many that, not saying all, don't get me wrong. You see too many that don't provide for their wives and for their children, for their households. You see men who are acting as sperm donors. You see men who are effeminized. You look at the young men today. I'll give you an example of some, just like in the realm of hip-hop music today. You got Negroes walking around in dresses, evening gowns. What's the world come to? Well, even then, they might have been a criminal or a thug, but at least they tried to exude a type of masculinity. But now they got high heels, stilettos, and an evening gown, and trying to justify that foolishness. Be a man at all costs. Be a man at all costs. So we're gonna look at this thing. Let's go to Genesis 1 real quick, because this is what people fail to understand. And I understand that this is not politically correct today. But if you've been watching this channel any amount of time, you will realize I don't care about that. This is a time of political correctness. This is a time of feminism. This is a time to where they really promote you to be a woman if you're a man, and they promote masculinity amongst men. And see, that is causing a destabilization within our communities. We need all the men to be men. We don't need we got enough women. We don't need the men to be women. Negroes talking about their house husbands. We don't need no house husbands. We need actually, well, I'm gonna tell you what we need. And again, you could take it or leave it. Women are the ones who build a household in regard to making sure things run, making sure that the family is taken care of, and the children are raised. Men actually provide the household itself. A woman will build that up. But see, what you have is you have a dearth of manhood. Therefore, women are trying to build households. They're trying to be the man. They're trying to be mother and father. And you see women talking about, I want something for Father's Day because I'm a single mother. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, and I understand. Men have failed. Our men have failed women, but you can't be both. Just like a man can't be both. And you have women today who their whole mission is to have a career. Okay, that's fine if you want to do that, but nothing's greater than being a mother. It's not greater than that. And we as men need to show that proper honor. We as men need to step up instead of trying to live off women and understand what a man is. This is Genesis 1 and verse 26. It says, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. He gave man what? Dominion. Then he said, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he him, but we understand that he made the man first, and the woman was inside the man. The woman came forth from the man. He made the man first. You got simple Negroes talking about, God is female, God is a woman. Black woman is all this. Listen, God, you never see that in the Bible. You never see it in God. He's regarded. Men look like how God looks in the flesh. A woman obviously is the female version of mankind, but man, Adam came first. This is Genesis 2 and verse 7. Because he talks about how he did it first. He said, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So this man was Adam. But then he says something here. Because see, we need the roles I set up from the very beginning. He says in verse 18, and the Lord God said, it is not good that a man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him. So he says it's not good that a man, first of all, I gave this man dominion, and he said it's not good that he should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him. Notice he didn't make his head. I've seen different posts and things with women talking about, I thank God for giving me a helpmeet. You've lost your mind. You are the helpmeet. You are the one that's supposed to be helping him fulfill his purpose, not the other way around. Not the other way around. And truth be told, a woman will, even regardless of what you hear, women don't respect that. How can you respect that? Because, and then if you think about it, how things are set up, see, they've destroyed us as a people. They've put women on top, and we've allowed it. Ultimately, by not serving the true and living God, women are on top as far as education, economics, etc. See, this is not, don't get me wrong, this is not about a woman's intellect. I know a woman is just as smart as any man. I know that a woman can do practically any job that a man can do, even though not necessarily might not be to be done. I understand that. So this is not about that. But what I'm saying is, when you look at, first of all, we look at the annals of history of how things have been done. We under this mindset that it's 2017 just because it's 2017, as if things are being done correctly now. No, they're not. Everything is butt backwards. So now the man is on bottom and the woman is on top in regard to economy, employment, etc. You go to an HBCU right now, out of 10 students, 7 of them are probably going to be women. So now you have all these women, they have all these degrees, all these careers, no husband. See, we think in an individual way. We're not thinking about nationhood, though. How is a nation going to thrive in that pattern? It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. What you see, we're not thriving because we don't understand. It's about the whole, and we don't understand order. We're going to talk more about order, but we should understand what a woman was for. And you can say, a woman can say what she's not going to do, but understand what God made you. Verse 18, and the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make an helpmeet for him. So he brought all the animals to Adam, and it said he named them. It says in verse 20, and Adam gave names to all cattle, to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found an helpmeet for him. No helpmeet was found amongst the animals. So it said, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman and brought her unto the man. So he took the woman out of man. Okay? She was not first, he was first, and she was made as an helpmeet for him. And there's a oneness there. Notice he didn't bring him another man. So you got men effeminized and acting like women. If a woman is your helpmeet, you're supposed to be the head. Verse 22. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman and brought her into the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Notice that she was named by him. Adam named his wife. That lets you know right there who is in charge or who is in power in that relationship. Or the head, which is Adam, the man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So a man is supposed to leave father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and they have children, and they were supposed to do the same thing. But that's the order of things. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. See the order of this thing. See, we are outside of the order that God set forth and can't understand why we're not prospering. First of all, boys need to be reared into manhood. And even males as adults. See what you have right now, you have a bunch of males 30 years old and older. They still not men. And they don't understand. This is 1 Corinthians. And we're going to see the order here further. This is what Paul writes, 1 Corinthians 11 and 8. He said, for the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. That's like, if you think about it, and I'm not saying a woman is a child, but ultimately, when you look at it, the woman came from the man. That's like your child turning to, I'm the one on charge. When you look at from inception, I'm talking from the Bereshit, from the Genesis, man was first. People say that's misogynistic. You could take it or leave it. But if you don't understand this order, you're not going to have peace. And we're going to talk about the responsibilities that come with manhood and being a man. See, if men understand their responsibilities and their duties, and they follow God on what they're supposed to do, that would be most beneficial for women, because that's not happening right now. Men don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So it says, Paul writes, for the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. The woman was created for the man to be his helpmeet. It's not the other way around. It is not the other way around. But you look at the world today, particularly amongst our people, and they will tell you everything's upside down. The women are ruling the community. Women should not be in charge. Period. Not of a household, period. The man is there, the man is the head. So it says again, neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. We read in Genesis 2, he said, I will make an helpmeet for him. Let's go back to Genesis. No, we already read it. Let's go to Ephesians and see the order further. Ephesians 5. And I understand this is, again, this sounds misogynistic. This sounds archaic, but this is book. This is Ephesians 5 and verse 22. Again, what's the order? He says something here. This is Paul again. He said, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. See, and many women don't understand that. So here's what it is. When your husband's telling you something, he says, submit to that just like you submitting to God. People, and women say, I'm not doing that. But understand, you contrary to God in that way, because he told you to do that. I'm going to read that again. It says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands just like you obey God, obey your husband. And he tells you why. He said, for the husband is the head of the wife. He is the spiritual head. He is the head of the family. So when you disobeying what he's telling you to do, it's just like disobeying God. Again, take it or leave it. He said, for the husband is the head of the wife. Then he says something, even as Christ is the head of the church. Look at the comparison he made. He made the comparison of the Messiah, the Mashiach, what we call Jesus. He made that comparison of him. You know, he is the bridegroom, and his church, the people, Israel, was his bride. Now we understand that when they did, you wouldn't think, oh man, they disobeying God. That's okay. We know, we read it, it was a problem. It was consequences that came with Israel disobeying the Lord, right? He likens that relationship between God and his people to a man and his wife. So you should understand that it's the same thing when a woman is disobedient to her husband. He said, because he makes the comparison. He said, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as, or just like Christ is the head of the church and the savior of the body. He said, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ. So just like the church should be subject and be obedient unto the Messiah, he said, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, and most women don't want to swallow, but that's the one that's on the table. That's what the book is telling you. It says again, let the wives be to, it says, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, just like again, the church is subject, it should be obedient unto Christ. So let the wives be to their own husbands in everything, not some things, not just what you want to do, not just if it's advantageous to you. He said in everything. That means even if you disagree. It says in verse 25, husbands, love your wives. So that kind of subjection to an individual you're being subject to, that comes with responsibility. That comes with responsibility. And you know what I find? It's not fascinating. It's just our minds have been destroyed. A woman will go on a job and be subject or in subjection to a manager, to a supervisor, to whoever she's working for, but then will come home and won't be in subjection to her husband at home. Think about that for a second. For all this independence, everybody talking about I'm independent because you could pay a light bill and a mortgage. That's not true independence. Understand, that is a Western perspective. Individualism, so-called quote unquote independence, when in actuality you are a slave to the job. That's the okie doke. You have been made a slave to this debt system. You talking about I'm independent because I got a mortgage. A mortgage is a liability. When you really understand, it's not an asset, it's a liability. You borrow $120,000 and they punch the numbers. They don't even give you the real money. They punch it into a computer. You get a mortgage, then they parcel it out, sell it to different places, and then demand from you usually double what you borrow. So then you end up paying $240,000 or more, depending on what you do later on. Sometimes you got people putting another mortgage on the house. then the price of the house or the value of the house, particularly for our people, goes down. So you bought it for $120,000 from some white people that bought it for $40,000, and then 10 years down the line, that $120,000 house is worth $65,000, $80,000. You're a slave to the system. It's set up that way. And when I mean slave, I mean economic slave to the system. But you independent. You've lost your mind. It said, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so that the wives be to their own husbands in everything. But then he gets to what the men need to do. And we're going to talk a lot about what men need to do. This is part of being a man. It said, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for. That kind of love, that means, what does that mean? That means a man should be willing to die for his wife. And that's why I was talking about slavery, when that true child slavery came and they were taking men's wives, understand they were not, you could not exude manhood in that situation. Many of them did not, I should say. Some of them did, but many, the vast majority did not, because to do such a thing, to be a man, you can't be a man and a slave at the same time. They taking your wife. They taking your wife, and you don't do nothing about it. You're not a man. Somebody, I don't care who it is. Don't let nobody violate your wife. Don't let nobody do nothing to your wife. Talking about turning the other cheek. Man, you got a wife, don't let nobody do nothing to her. He said, husbands, love their wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for. Man, men have become pansies. Men have become pansies. I saw it was a movie, it was a long time ago. This movie came out. They got pulled over, police officer, he violating his wife in front of him. No, somebody should have died. Him or the police officer, one of the two should have died that very day. Don't let nobody put your hands on your woman. I'm not no Muslim, but one thing Malcolm X said, I agree with. I'm definitely not a Muslim. Malcolm X said, Al-Haj Malik al-Sabah said, we will kill you for our women. He said, I'm making it plain. We will kill you for our. Don't put your hands. Don't let nobody do nothing to your wife. He said, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for. And that also means, so he was willing to lay down his life for his woman. That means he was willing to do all the things that he don't want to do. Now, I'm not saying at her behest in the sense of she's directing you and you just following along like some lapdog. No, you do the things necessary for her sustenance. Because that's what God did. He provided for his wife. He provided for his bride. He brought down kingdoms. He destroyed kingdoms for his bride, for his church. That's what he did. A man should be willing at least to go to work. Right? He should be willing to do those things he does not want to do so she can be taken care of. And that, brothers and sisters, there should be respect, reciprocity. It should be some respect because of that. But many women, quite frankly, what I'm seeing is a lot of them, they're not trying to do that. They being just like Israel, the nation, rebellious. That's what I'm seeing. So what you see is rebellion among women, and men who are male don't know how to be men. Let's go to but you're supposed to, I will show you an example of something. See, again, we've been destroyed. When you look at us as a people, you look at a lot of times the system emasculates. Men get emasculated by white female teachers in school. They get emasculated by the justice system. They get emasculated and feminized in these prisons. They get emasculated on their job. It's hard to be there. Being a male, a true male, and being masculine as a black male brings forth pushback in society. Right? To be effeminized to make things easier for you in society. That's when you starting to see more and more effeminized men in positions of power. Take a look at what you're seeing even in the news, in the media. Take a look at what you're seeing, how the men behave. Are you seeing many strong black men? Even in journalism, I'm just saying, in journalism, you're not even seeing strong black men. You see a lot of men looking effeminized. That's what you're seeing. This is Nehemiah. I'm gonna pick it up in Nehemiah 4 and verse 13. Because ultimately, being a man also is having a warrior spirit and being willing to lay your life down again for those that matter. You are the protector in your family. You are the protector in your community, and ultimately, you the protector in your nation. You think about all the men that went to war, not for some racist white European white society of America, but you look at our ancestors that went to war, and they took land. They did it. That's what men do. They conquer. That's what men do. And they fight at all costs. You know, and sometimes you got to fight what seem to be insurmountable odds. But that's part of being a man too. This is Nehemiah 4 and verse 13, because here is when Israel went back. They were trying to rebuild Jerusalem, rebuild the temple, put things back in order. This is after Babylonian captivity and the captivity that occurred in the Medes and the Persians. Cyrus and others wrote decrees that allowed them to go back, but the people in the surrounding area, that land, they did not want them to come back. And there's a call to action here. It says, therefore said I in the, this is in Nehemiah, it said, therefore in verse 13, 4 and 13, it says, Nehemiah 4 and 13 says, therefore said I in the lower places, behind the wall, and on the higher places, I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles, now these are men, and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. See, sometimes you got to lay it on the line as a man. You can't be scared. You can't be scared. Let's go to another place. Let's see what else a man is supposed to do. Let's go to 1 Timothy. See, so if a woman is submitting unto you, you should at least be doing this. This is 1 Timothy 5 and verse 8. 1 Timothy 5 and verse 8 reads, but if any provide not for his own. Now this is a man supposed to work even from the beginning. Man was supposed to work. But it said, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house or his household. See, men are the head of the household. A woman is that's why she is of a man's household. He said, if a man don't provide for those of his household, that's talking about his wife and those children that are produced. He said he have denied the faith. Don't talk about you believing in God. You have just denied the faith and not provided for your household. He says he have denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. You worse than a non-believer. Don't talk about. So what do men have to do? Number one, they have to be willing to lay it all on. First of all, you have to occupy the position of head. And occupying the position of head means sometimes you're going to disappoint and make angry the people that are up under you. Because ultimately, ultimately, y'all not going to agree 100%. Ultimately, you have to make decisions and stand firm on those positions and decisions that you make for the benefit of the household. That's what you have to do as a man. You have to occupy that position. It's not going to be, it can't be that you leaning always on your wife to make decisions that are necessary for the household. That don't mean you don't take counsel with your wife. That don't mean if she's saying something that's intelligent and that's prudent that you don't listen. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is ultimately it rests in you. You need to be willing to live and die with that. Because ultimately, you are the spiritual head, you are the head of that household, period. And the one thing you have to do is provide for that household. Notice this is not put on women. It's put on men. Men must provide for their household. It said, but if any provide not for his own, especially for those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. I remember not too long ago, we was in Lafayette, ministering to the people down there in Lafayette. And we was in a little, public housing out there in different places. There was people all out there, out walking around and talking to a lot of people, a lot of young black people, our brothers and sisters. You know what they saw? You know what I saw? Many other men were down there just living off of the woman. Listen, let me tell you something. Build your own household, then bring a woman in. Don't live off no woman. You build your own household up. And then you could bring a woman in. Don't you go and move in with her, because you move in with her, she can put your butt right out. Which is what I saw. I was talking to one brother. He was trying to hit his woman, rode up on him. Get in this car. I gotta go. He about 6'4". This little short woman come driving, go all crazy, getting to telling him what he better do. Everything backwards. Well, what can he say? He not taking care of her. He living off her. So you are reduced to the position of a child. Let's go to Esther. The book of Esther. I want to read some here. Because you're supposed to, not only are you supposed to establish your household, you're supposed to be respected in your household. A man's supposed to be respected in his household. This is Esther, the book of Esther. This is chapter 1, Esther, chapter 1 and verse 2. Verse 1 and 1. We're going to read about this, and it just put something on your mind here. It says in Esther 2 and 1, it says, now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over in 107 and 20 provinces. So then this is his king, okay, that reigned. It said that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace. Okay, so now this is his king. We'll skip down to verse 9. Okay, because he's having to get together. Then it says also Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. So now listen, now notice this queen made a feast for the women, but it said in the royal house who it belonged to, it was his. That, even if you think about that, you see men being disrespected by their wives in the house that they built. I can't do it. It said on the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehumim, Bista, Habona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look upon, or to look on. So he requested his queen to come. It says verse 12, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. You think about this. How can the king rule people when publicly his own wife disrespects him? You think about that, even if you put on a lower level, a man in his house. The way you want to say it, and not man, if he's taking care of his responsibility and do what he's supposed to do, he the king in that house. You lost it. Every man's a king. Hey, he is the head of that house. Now think about when you disrespecting him, you do it in front of the children. What are the children thinking of the father? Who is he to be respected? Or if you're doing it out in public, because I've seen that woman totally out of pocket, and the man not having the sense enough to check her, but he just take it. See, that shouldn't be. That's one thing. If you doing what thus said the Lord, you doing what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to be respected in your household. So is a woman. She's supposed to be respected in her household. So it says, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burning. I know he was mad. This is a man that sent other men to war to die for his kingdom, for his wealth and resources, and his own wife. He said, come in, she refused. How you gonna take him seriously? Do you know that's a threat to national security? That's a threat to national security. 13. Then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment, and the next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Muris, Messina, Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto Queen Vashti according to law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chambers. He said, man, we got to do something. What are we going to do to this woman? And Memucan answered before the king of the princes, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only. Now this is wisdom right here. Listen to what he said. He said, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. We read there was 107 and 20 provinces. In all those provinces, she's done wrong. It said, for this, verse 17, for this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women. So this is going to spread among all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. So he said, man, other women, all over the province, women gonna say, man, I ain't got to respect my man in this house. The queen don't respect the king over all these provinces. Why am I respect him? It said, likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. There's going to be turmoil in the house. Because ultimately, regardless of what many may think, he requested her, she was supposed to come. Why? Because this man was a king, but he the head of that. He the head of all these provinces. If he'd have been just an average man, and his wife was supposed to come. It said, verse 19, if it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And take heed to that. Why would a king that has all these resources and things at his disposal deal with that? Same thing when you're thinking about it. If a man that got his head together, why should he have to deal with that? Disrespect. That's foolishness. That's foolishness. So it says here, it says in verse 20, and when the king's decree which ye shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great. He had a great empire. It says, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. You're supposed to honor your husband. And let's go, and it's saying, please the kings and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. Now go right to chapter 2 and see what happened. Because they sent this out in all languages to all people. Chapter 2, it says in verse 1, after these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. Now understand, even they understood this in other cultures, the value of being a virgin. Because even when you look at when you really look at it from a biblical perspective, our women we've been so far removed and so out of pocket. Women are not even, quite frankly, in a position to be talking about being a wife. Why do I say that? Because they done laid with so many people, so many men. Things are all out of order. Women are not supposed to be laying with men. Women are built for one man. But it said, then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. You can't have this king, this man, the king got a wife and she done been with all everybody else. That's what's happening right now. We have to change this. See, we have been Europeanized, Westernized. We have to get away. We have to start raising our sons to be men, masculine men, and we have to raise our godly men, God-fearing men, and we need to raise our young women to be virtuous, chaste, godly women. That's what we need to do. Because what we got right now, so far from that, is not even funny. It said, let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan, the palace, to the house of the women, and to the custody of Haggai, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them, and let the maiden which pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Why? He said, why am I dealing with this? It's just logical. Why would I deal with this woman? Disrespectful. That's the king. No man don't need to be dealing with that. Period. But let's go to let's see another king. Let's go to 1 Samuel. Let's go to 1 Samuel 8, and we'll pick it up and see about David. 1 Samuel 8, and we'll pick it up at verse 17. 1 Samuel 8. Hold on one second. I said 1 Samuel 8. I mean 2 Samuel 8. 2 Samuel 8 and verse. Is that right? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. No, I might have been right. Hold on. Let me go back. Okay, yes. 1 Samuel 18. My mistake. 1 Samuel 18 and verse 17. So now here you see Saul who's king. You see David. And it says in verse 16, 18 and 16, 1 Samuel 18 and 16, it said, but all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, so now Saul is jealous. David is wise. And Saul is afraid of him because he sees potential in him. He understands what David is. Epitome of manhood, the potential to be a greater king in him. And the Lord was with David. So it said, and Saul said to David, behold, my elder daughter, Miriam, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. So he said, I'll give you my daughter to wife if you are valiant and fight these battles. Understand he had to do something. So a man had to do so. He could just, you at least have to provide a place. A lot of this man said, hey, go to war and be valiant and fight my battles. I'll give you her to wife. This is like Jacob. He worked for Rachel. And Leah in another 7 years. He ended up working 20 plus years. But it says, listen to why he did this, though. He said, for Saul said, let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. He wanted him to get killed and battle. And David was humble. He said, who am I? And what is my life? And David said unto Saul, who am I? What is my life or my father's family in Israel that I should be son-in-law to the king? See, he showed order and respect to the king, even though the king meant him no good. But it came to pass at the time when Miriam, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Israel, the Meholathite, to wife. And it said, and Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in one of twain. So he said, I'm going to give him a call. Why? So she could be a snare or a trap to him. And ultimately, that's what a lot of women are to their husbands. They're a snare and a trap. So he's not fighting the Philistines, but he's fighting these trials and tribulations out in this world, trying to make a way, and you sabotaging what he's doing at home, destroying your own household. Let's go to 2 Samuel the 6th chapter. 2 Samuel the 6th chapter, because here David has become king, and Michal is one of his wives. He had many wives, but she's one of them. And let's see what happened when he brings the Ark of the Covenant back. This is 2 Samuel 6 and verse 11. It says, and the Ark of the Lord continued in the house of Obed-edom, the Gittite, 3 months, and the Lord blessed Obed-edom and all his household. And it was told King David, saying, the Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-edom and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the Ark of God. So David went and brought up the Ark of God from the house of Obed-edom into the city of David with gladness. So now they bring the Ark up, he's glad. And it was so that when they that bare the Ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And it said, and David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen girdle. So David's dancing. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord, was shouting with the sound of the trumpets. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, as she despised him in her heart. Here we go, despising your husband once again. So now this Michal despised her husband. And then it says something here. It says in verse, so it says that she despised him. And it says in verse 20, then David returned to bless his household. And Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaid of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself. Meaning, he went out there with absolutely no clothes on. He basically was out there as a common people, praising the Lord, bless. That's not something you see a king doing. You know, you always have to have that kingly stature. But she despised him and disrespecting him. And David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord was chose me before thy father. So he checked him. He said, listen, he didn't say you right. I'm sorry. He didn't say that. He said, and David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord was chose me before thy father. Meaning he chose me over your father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore will I play before the Lord. So I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm praising God. What you talking about? Then it said, and I will yet be more vile than thus. You think you see, so you ain't seen nothing yet. He said, I'm gonna be more vile than thus, and will be base in mine own sight, and of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. He said, the ones you speak ill of, you disrespected me, but they ain't the ones showing me honor, but you my wife. You see how that don't make any sense? Then it says something. He says, it says in verse 23, therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child until the day of her death. Lord made her barren. See, that's what I'm saying. Understand what you're doing. Let's go to Job. See, a man has to be willing, when necessary, to correct your woman. This is Job 2 and verse 7. I know this sounds too old-fashioned, but you see you see me reading the book. This is Job 2 and verse 7. So now we know Job was a righteous man. He had immense wealth, but he lost all his wealth and all of his kids, he even lost his health. It says in Job 2 and 7, so went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. So Job is in a destitute state. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself with her, and he sat down among the ashes. Now listen to what his wife says. Verse 9. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. Now she says almost verbatim what Satan proposed that Job would say if his health was taken. And did Job say, you right? I am going to curse God. I'm going to follow you. No, he checked her. He said, but he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaking. You speak like a fool. He said, what? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips. So you have to stand, even if you're standing alone as a man, even if you stand on what's right and what's principle, regardless of what anybody said, even if it's your wife. But you got men 6'4", 6'5", 280 pounds, solid muscle, they scared of their wife. They scared of their wife. She 5'3", giving them hell. That shouldn't be. You are the head of the household. You need to assume that position. This is Joshua 24. And that could take a long time to understand. But we need men to understand it today. This is Joshua 24 and verse 14, excuse me. Joshua verse 24 and verse 14. It reads, Joshua says, now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. So now he's talking to the people. And he says, and put away the gods which your father served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve your Lord. So he tells them to serve the Lord. Then verse 15, he says, and if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your father served that were on the other side of the flood, let's talk about on Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. It's the land of Canaan. He said, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. See, his household, he determined what they were going to do, serve the Lord. You make that decision and direct your household. Don't let nobody in your house run you. That don't mean you don't listen to your wife when she's giving you good counsel. But at the end of the day, especially spiritually, you have to make sure you run that household. That means you have to know these scriptures, because ultimately you are responsible spiritually. See, a woman, that's why you look at vows. A woman, if a woman is in her father's house and she make a vow and her father hear it, he can disannul that vow. If a vow to God, he can disannul that vow. If he hear it and say, no, you're not going to do that. Why? Because she is his covering. A woman is passed directly to her husband. And now he is her head. And now the same thing with her. If his wife make a vow and he want to disannul the vow that she make to God, he can. People don't want to hear this because everything backwards now. You want to be ahead of everything, and we put women ahead of everything, and our men are not doing what they should do. And how's that working out for us? How's that working out? It's not working out at all. This is the last place, 1 Kings. Like I said, this could sound old-fashioned. It could sound this, this 2017. You living in the past. Just because you are living in the current time doesn't mean things are right. It don't mean things are right. This is 1 Kings 2 and verse 1. This is a charge I give to all men. It says 1 Kings 2 and 1. It says, now the days of David drew nigh that he should die. And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. Don't fear nothing. Be strong. Walk as a man. And it says, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. See, the man needs to be a man. That's what David was telling his son. Be a man and walk according to what God said. If you're a man, you walk according to what God said to do. Don't worry about nothing else. Don't fear nothing else. Don't fear nobody else. Do what you're supposed to do. Take care of your family, lead your family, and be a man in your household. And don't take no disrespect. Don't take no disrespect from nobody in that house. God's my prayer, you will edify.